Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thank you so much for tuning in on a Victory Sunday edition of the show. Jaguars, they did it. One of the most improbable comebacks in NFL history, playoff history, certainly in Jaguars history, down 27-0 against the Los Angeles Chargers. The Jaguars never gave up hope. Their fans never gave up hope. And the Jaguars were able to mount an epic comeback, winning 31-30 on the leg of Riley Patterson, kicking it through the uprights to win the game. It was 28-30. Jaguars get the ball back. They drive down the field. They put Riley Patterson in position to go make the game-winning kick, and he delivered. 31-30. The Jacksonville Jaguars are moving on. They have dispatched the Los Angeles Chargers. They're moving on to the divisional round. The reward for beating the Chargers, one Patrick Mahomes. It's going to be a whole bunch of fun next week. But looking at this football game, down 27-0, how did the Jaguars get in this position? How did they crawl themselves out of this position? Well, the Chargers came out with a fantastic game plan on defense early, which is not surprising. I said it all week. Brandon Staley is one of the best defensive coaches in the league. One of the best defensive game planners in the league. He was taking away exactly what the Jaguars like to do with their shallow crossers, with their drive routes. He was giving them zone look, or he would give them a man look, right? Specifically on the one where Evan Ingram was shallow cross across the field, and that's a bread and butter play for the Jaguars, just getting Evan Ingram going across the field and getting him the ball in space. It works perfectly against a man defense. Chargers showed man, dropped into zone. That was one of Asante Samuel's 3 interceptions in this football game. But they were just disguising what they were doing really well. They were acting like and showing Trevor Lawrence that he's going to get what he wants from this look and then changing it at the last minute. So they were taking away all the underneath stuff, all the stuff the Jaguars like to hit early. They were taking that stuff away. They were playing close to the line of scrimmage. They were trying to take the run away. It was really, really impressive, in my opinion, from the Chargers early on. And that's what led to Trevor Lawrence throwing some interceptions. You saw the one to Evan Ingram over the middle that I'm talking about, the crosser. Great play design by Brandon Staley and the Chargers. Props to them for that. The one to Zay Jones on the sideline, that looked like it was probably pass interference. You had one over the middle to Asante down the field a little bit on a drive route, I think. And that wasn't a great decision by Trevor, but it was a great play by Asante Samuel. And then you also had the interception from Drew Tranquill, which was just tipped, so that was unfortunate. So when you're looking at Trevor and you're like, oh my gosh, he threw 4 interceptions in the first half. What is going on? What is wrong with Trevor Lawrence? You've seen these Jaguars go down big in a lot of the games that they've won this year. Now, going down 27-0 is an entirely different thing. And against a offense that has Justin Herbert and against a defense that has Brandon Staley calling the shots, but the Jaguars adjusted. They started hitting plays down the field. They started taking what the Chargers were giving them, which was not the underneath stuff, not the quick game stuff, the down the field stuff. And even though that's not the Jaguars' bread and butter as much as it is the short game stuff, the quick game stuff, they executed it masterfully once they figured out what they were doing. Trevor Lawrence had an insane end to this football game. Again, he started out with 4 interceptions. I think he was 10 of 24 in the first half. Finished 28 of 47, 288 yards, 4 passing touchdowns. And again, the 4 interceptions, of course. But his resiliency in this game, I think it kind of personified his season. He's had to be resilient. There's been times where he's made a bad play here or there, and he just has to pick himself up off the mat, get back on the drawing board, figure out why did this go this way. And he's been able to do that and respond in big moments throughout this year. None bigger than this. Again, down 27-0. Jaguars said, so what, now what? And they just responded one drive at a time. And for me, when I was looking at this one when they were down 27-0, I was like, I don't expect the Jaguars to win this game at this point, obviously. But if they can just crawl their way back into getting it within a couple scores, then it's a ball game. Then you can at least try to get within striking distance. And that's exactly what they did. They got it to 27-14, and they scored on a couple straight drives, started looking good. And once it was 27-14, it was a ball game. They're only down 13 at that point. And so you feel really good about what you're doing. Travis Etienne, I thought, had a tremendous game. And no bigger play than the fourth down call, right, from Doug Peterson, where they line up in a formation where you're probably expecting a quarterback sneak or a handoff to one of those three guys right behind Trevor. It was a handoff, but not an inside handoff. They only needed 1 yard, but they decided, we're going to have Travis Etienne, who's probably the fastest guy on the field, especially with the ball in his hands. We're just going to have him hit the edge. And that's exactly what he did, picked up a big chunk. It was a thing of beauty. He had 20 carries for 109 yards, 5.5 yards a carry. Also had one catch for 12 yards. He was really good in this game, and he was having to get tough yardage against the Chargers, who again were trying to load up the box. They were trying to disallow the Jaguars to run the ball, and it didn't work. The Jags still averaged 5.6 a carry, which is about right when you look at what the Chargers have done throughout the year defensively. I just can't believe one of the craziest things when you look at this game, besides the fact that the Chargers were just up 27-0 and lost 31-30. The Jaguars turned the ball over 5 times, did not force a single turnover of their own. The Jaguars were 2 of 10 on third down. Chargers, 8 of 17. They were almost 50% on third down. They forced 5 turnovers. Couldn't win the game. Got to be sickening if you're a Chargers fan. But the Jags were 2 of 3 on fourth down. They did a good job on those money downs for sure. I think when you look at some of the receiving performances from the Jaguars, they are absolutely incredible. Evan Ingram, fantastic game. That catch in the end zone where he got clocked, big time catch. A lot of the catches that Evan Ingram gets in this system do look a little bit schemed up. Obviously, his athleticism helps. But that was just a big boy play, a big boy throw and catch from Trevor Lawrence to Evan Ingram. Then you talk about, I think Christian Kirk played the best game of his Jaguars career. It was 8 for 78, a touchdown. That's not like crazy numbers, but the balls he was hauling in were unbelievable. Like he was just having to go get some heaters, some absolute heaters, go up and get them and bring them down, and he was doing it really well. They got him on an out route. Bryce Callahan, same way he scored in the Week 3 matchup against the Chargers. Zay Jones, who I predicted to score in this one, 8 for 74 and a touchdown. He had a big game as well. Obviously, they were able to hit him deep on that design play there, and I thought that they were going to try to get Zay Jones deep in this game, and they did. Had that 39-yard touchdown. Marvin Jones, clutch as ever. 3 catches, 29 yards, and of course, yes, he found the end zone. The big 4 receivers for the Jaguars, Ingram, Kirk, Jones, and Jones, they all got the job done. They all got touchdowns for the Jags in this one. Chris Claybrooks, that was really unfortunate when you're talking about the Trevor obviously had 4 turnovers, 4 interceptions. Claybrooks had the other one. The punt bounced off of his head, led to a Chargers field goal. They gave them the ball right in scoring range, and the Jags defense stood up, though. And speaking of the Jags defense standing up, you talk about, they gave up 27 points in the first half. I put most of those points on the offense. I'm not going to lie. Again, Trevor Lawrence and the offense, they were just being out-planned early in this one, out-executed early in this one, and they put the defense in a ton of bad situations. Bottom line. And obviously the Chris Claybrooks bouncing it off his head, the punt bouncing off his head, that obviously put the defense in a horrible situation as well. But this defense, they stood up for the Jaguars. They stood up. Josh Allen stood up. Sack, tackle for loss, 4 quarterback hits, Foye Oluokun, again, of course, leads the team in tackles. The NFL tackle leader 2 seasons in a row. Roy Robertson Harris was dominant in this ball game. They could not keep him out of the backfield. He was doing big time work. 4 tackles for loss for Roy Robertson Harris. Rayshawn Jenkins, another big game. I thought Devin Lloyd might have had his best game of the season. And this is on first watch, right? It's 10:10 in the morning, Sunday, January 15th. We have not gotten back in the lab and broken this game down. This is all just first watch, instant analysis type stuff. We'll dive deeper into this game and have some deeper takes and all that later in the week. But I think based on my first watch, like Devin Lloyd, I think might have played his best game as a Jaguar. Tyson Campbell, very good game. I mean, they had such a great plan, and they had so much at the snap, pre-snap, and post-snap movement late in this game in the second half. I think it was really, really giving Justin Herbert a hard time mentally. I think, the Jags, they got knocked down, but they did not get knocked out. And they came back. They got themselves in this ball game. They stole the momentum. They stole the show, if you will. And once they did that, the defense was able to start playing with even more energy, playing with that energy like we know our offense can start doing stuff. If we give them the ball back, we're going to be just fine. That's exactly what happened. And they finished with 3 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, 10 quarterback hits, 7 passes defended. It was just a really great performance by the Jaguars defense. And again, you're going to say, well, they gave up 30 points. Is that a great performance? Yeah, it was. Again, I think on defensively in the first half, when you give up those 27 points, a lot of that was just on the offense putting them in terrible situations. But they were able to be resilient, fight back, and they only gave up 3 points the entire second half. That's kind of been the Jaguars' MO in these big comebacks, right? The defense, they just shut it down in the second half. They don't allow their opponents to do anything, and that's a credit to Mike Caldwell, the defensive coordinator, because, again, he's given them all these confusing looks. He's changing things pre- and post-snap and at the snap. So kudos to Mike Caldwell and all the guys for executing at a high level on that side of the ball. Jamal Agnew, in the return game, another big return for him, another big game overall. 4 kick returns for 134 yards, that 52-yarder that set the Jaguars up in really good field position as well. I loved to see that from Jamal. And you're just happy to see him when he gets the ball in his hands, he's able to do stuff with it. Again, another 52-yarder. He averaged 33.5. So good stuff from him. Logan Cook did have one stinker of a punt, but overall, you're not going to complain about Logan Cook ever. He does a good job. He did get one deep down in enemy territory, one of his punts. And Riley Patterson only asked to make one field goal, right? But it was the one to win the game. He went and did it. 36-yarder, nothing crazy. And I believe he remained perfect on extra points throughout this season, I believe. I don't think he's missed one. So that level of consistency also is a big help, because if you're out there missing extra points, it's just kind of a buzzkill. Takes the momentum away, kind of, if you go out there and miss the extra point after putting up a big touchdown. And he's been able to be incredibly accurate, both on extra points, and he's been an accurate field goal kicker for the Jaguars as well. And he did it in such a big moment, the biggest moment of his career by far. And you do feel for Justin Herbert, because he's a hell of a quarterback. Did not have Mike Williams in this one. They lost DeAndre Carter for a little bit, so they were really just working with 3 receivers. Keenan Allen had a big first half, and then the Jaguars started figuring that out. Gerald Everett, same thing. Overall, I just think not having Mike Williams was incredibly limiting for the Chargers offense. And that's just got to be frustrating. That's got to be finger pointed at the head coach. And if I'm the Chargers, I don't want to get rid of Brandon Staley. I do think he's a good head coach, and he obviously came out and he landed a bunch of punches early in this one. But the Jags, again, they picked themselves up off the mat. They regrouped. They reevaluated their game plan. They started switching to what would work against what the Chargers were doing, which is more downfield stuff. The offensive line held up for the most part, again, against Joey Bosa, who got 2 personal fouls in this one. That was a weird situation. Didn't get ejected, but I don't know what happened there. Pretty weird. But they did a good job against this pass rush. Damn good job. The offensive line did. So you love that for the OL, obviously. But yeah, I just think if I'm a Chargers fan, I don't want Brandon Staley gone. I do want Joe Lombardi gone. They've got to fix this offense. And I know you look at some of their offensive numbers and you're like, oh, their offense is good, but it's not. They run too much horizontal stuff. They don't have downfield threats. And again, Mike Williams would help with that. But it's just too much horizontal. You have Justin Herbert with a howitzer of an arm. You've got to use it. They're not using it enough. And so that's frustrating for me. I would want a new offensive coordinator if I was on the Chargers side of things. But for the Jaguars, they are moving on. They're going to go take on the Kansas City Chiefs in round 2 in the divisional round of the playoffs in Kansas City. It's going to be a hell of a matchup. They've already played each other once this year. Jaguars got down early, no big surprise there, but they kind of scratched and clawed their way back into that one, made it respectable. We'll see how they're able to handle it this week. Maybe, just maybe, could the Jaguars actually come out and start a game decently? That might be too much to ask for, but we will take it. We will take the 31-30 win over the Chargers in the wild card round in front of another raucous crowd in Jacksonville. It was loud. It was full of energy, and the crowd did not quit on the team, and that's what you love to see. It was going strong there in the second half, and the team deserved it, quite frankly. They deserved that fan engagement, and the fans deserve what the team is doing. It's a great relationship right now. You love to see it. But that is going to do it here for this, again, Victory Sunday edition of Duval Daily. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. Hit me up on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo, Generation Jaguar at Generation Jag. You can hit that like and subscribe button here on YouTube. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss a show. You can also check out genjag.com, pick up some Duval gear, become a channel member right here on YouTube, get some cool perks, links in the description below. Thank you so much for tuning in, Duval, and enjoy the rest of this Victory Sunday.